We need to be talking about end-of-life care, that we need to not treat the medical system like its job is to keep you alive forever, indefinitely, to use technology to prolong life at all costs. It's a slippery slope argument, right? Because I think most people will agree, no, you don't, and we could keep a lot of human bodies technically functioning, hooked up to machines with a thing, with their heart beating because of the drugs we're putting into them and air being forced into their veins, until they're 200 years old, theoretically, right? Like, it's not going to stop until we pull the plug on that machine. So, but at some point, everyone will say, no, a person is technically dead. They're only alive because we are breathing air into them. So then you just, and no one wants to talk about cost, right? You can't even put cost on the table.
No, it's,
I mean,
so large.
even if you bring in a totally hypothetical thing, like we could keep one person who's 150 years old alive for $1 million a day, or we could treat 1,000 people for their entire lives who have diabetes, provide them with everything they would need to have preventive care that they would not otherwise have. I mean, some absurd hypothetical, and even you just can't, even at those levels, introduce any. Because as soon as you talk about one person's life, even saving thousands, there's this recent study about people who would or would not kill Hitler if they could prevent World War II. And did you hear about this?
No.
It was like last week. Yeah. They surveyed a bunch of people. Like, would you say you come across a sleeping Hitler on a train car in 1920?
Wow.
You're transported back there. You could stop
World War
everything.
II.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you, and you had some sort of way to just do it quite easily. And there are people who wouldn't. I mean, it's hard to do. It's hard to talk about that.
Well,
any balance like that is fraught. So anyway, end of life care. You get into these dilemmas like that. And I think where we're at though, right in the discussion, is actually not talking about rationing care, not talking about cost, not talking at all about, the idea of death panels is what that becomes. It becomes a politicized thing, which is not what anyone is talking about. You're talking just about making sure that people's priorities are in line with what they actually get. Most people say they want to die at home peacefully with their family. They don't want to die hooked up to machines in a hospital, disoriented, and yet and we're getting better. A lot of people still do die the way they did not want. So the thing we need right now is just people to make their wishes known, to talk about to understand what the options mean, and to make sure their family knows and that people are on the same page. And so, but it's a thing that's been written about a ton. It's a story that's hard to tell. I think people want to read about and care about issues right now, affecting them immediately, not in some absurd hypothetical thing, because we're all going to live forever, right? You don't need to think about that. And then if you do have grandparents who are older, you don't want to be the one to talk about it even. It's just an unpleasant thing, and that's just a cultural thing that needs to change, where we can just say, hey, what about when you die? What do you think about that? We haven't talked about that. And no one should be flustered. It's just say, oh yeah, we should talk about this. Sucks, but it's going to happen.